Imagine filing your company's annual accounts in 15 minutes from a cafe in Lisbon using a card the size of a credit card. No accountant, no courier, no wet signatures. Just you, your laptop, and the most digital government on earth. That country is Estonia. In the next 15 minutes, I'll tell you why so many founders we work with at Grant & Graham are choosing an Estonian OÜ as the legal home for their business. And the reasons it's absolutely the wrong fit for some others. I'm Alex Thomson, and this is The Global Founder. This show is made by Grant & Graham, a cross-border advisory firm based in London, Amsterdam, and Tallinn. We've helped founders, operators, and family offices set up and run companies across jurisdictions since 2009. Every episode this season, we pick one country and look honestly at what it's like to incorporate and operate there. The good, the awkward, and the tax bit everyone Googles. Today, Estonia, the OÜ, Estonia's private limited company. Why founders keep choosing it, what it really costs, and the one thing about Estonian corporate tax that almost nobody gets right on the first explanation. Let's get into it. Estonia has 1.3 million people, smaller than Birmingham, and yet it sits at the top of every digital government ranking on the planet. How? When Estonia regained independence in 1991, it had almost no legacy infrastructure, no big mainframes from the 1970s. So when it built its public services, it built them digitally from scratch, with a secure national ID at the center and a data sharing layer called X-Road connecting everything together. For you as a founder, that means Estonia's state doesn't really use paper. You sign with a chip card or a mobile app. You file tax returns online. You talk to the business registry online. You can start a company, run it, pay its taxes, and close it down without ever walking into a government building. And in 2014, Estonia did something nobody else had done. It opened that system up to foreigners through e-residency. For around €100, you can get a digital identity from the Estonian state, not citizenship, not a visa, a cryptographic ID that lets you sign documents, open a company, and run it remotely. So Estonia isn't a tax haven, it's a digital-first jurisdiction that happens to have a very founder-friendly tax rule, which we'll get to in a minute. First though, what is an OÜ, mechanically? It's a private limited liability company, one or more shareholders, one or more directors, share capital of €2,500, and since 2023 you can defer paying that in. Incorporation online through the business registry takes a day or two. If you have e-residency, you do it yourself. If not, we do it for you through a power of attorney. A few things that are genuinely different from a UK limited or a Dutch BV. 1. You need an Estonian contact person if no board member lives in Estonia. We provide this. It's a regulated forwarding address for official correspondence. 2. You need a registered legal address in Estonia. Same arrangement, we provide it. 3. There's no requirement for an Estonian director. You can run the board from Dubai, Dublin, or Denver. That matters for residency planning. 4. Accounts are filed annually, in Estonian formally, but the platform works with translators, and in practice it's a 20-page PDF, not a 30-day project. 5, and this is the one most people miss. An OÜ is a full EU company. VAT number, EORI number, EU customer trust, EU banking, EU contracts. It's not a shell, it's a real European limited company administered in a country that treats admin as software, right? The famous Estonian tax system. Let me say this clearly, because the internet is full of confident misinformation. Estonia does not have zero corporate tax. It has deferred corporate tax. An Estonian OÜ pays no corporate income tax on retained profits, as long as the money stays in the company. Reinvested, held as cash, used to buy equipment, pay salaries, buy another business. The rate is zero. The moment you distribute profit, typically as a dividend, corporate tax falls due. The headline rate in 2026 is 22%, grossed up on the distribution, and Estonia is raising it to 24% under the current plan. Something we're watching closely. Why does this matter? Because it changes the maths of reinvestment. Take a UK limited. You earn 100,000 of profit. Pay 25% corporation tax. You now have 75,000 to reinvest. Take an Estonian OÜ. Earn 100,000. Reinvest it, and you have the full 100,000 working. The tax doesn't fire until distribution. Over 5 or 10 years of compounding, that difference is large. Now, the bit that matters if you're UK or Dutch tax resident. The country you live in doesn't care about Estonia's rules. If you're UK resident and you take a dividend from your OÜ, it goes on to your UK tax return as foreign dividend income, and you pay UK dividend tax on it. There are treaties, there are credits, but you are not escaping personal tax by holding your company in Estonia. Nobody is. What the OÜ gives you is control over the corporate layer. When profit crystallizes into tax, whether it compounds inside the business or flows out, that's a real, useful, legal lever, not a loophole. So who does this actually work for? First, software and digital product businesses, SaaS, agencies, consultancies, online education, digital content, location-independent, international customers, remote team. Estonia is the natural home. Second, founders who reinvest aggressively. If your plan is to build, hold, and compound, not to pay yourself a big dividend every year, the deferral is a huge tailwind. Third, e-commerce sellers inside the EU. An OÜ gives you an EU VAT number, an EORI number, and equal footing in every EU market. Post-Brexit, easier than running the same operation from a UK limited. Fourth, holding structures. A clean, tax-efficient, fully EU holding vehicle. Especially useful if you want to reinvest dividends from subsidiaries without a tax leak at the holding layer. And who's it not for? Let me be fair. Heavily regulated businesses, financial services, insurance, sector licenses. These are better in the UK, Ireland, Luxembourg, or Malta. Businesses with a large physical presence in one country. Employees, offices, warehouses. Incorporate where that presence is. Tax residency follows substance. And if you just want a cheap shell to hide income, Estonia is the wrong answer. The business registry is transparent. Beneficial ownership is public. An OÜ works for people with a real business. It's not a hiding place. Founders always ask what the real number is. Honest range for year one. Incorporation, including e-residency if needed, registered address, contact person, notary steps. For a straightforward OÜ, typically 1,000 to 2,000 euros all in. Ongoing, legal address and contact person, 500 to 900 euros a year. Accounting, 80 euros a month for a dormant holding company, up to a few hundred a month for an active trading business. Banking, this is the bit to plan. Traditional Estonian banks are stricter than they were. For most clients, we set up with a regulated EU fintech, Wise, Revolut Business, or a dedicated EU bank. None of those numbers are unusual for a real EU company. The myth that an OÜ is practically free to run is overstated. It's reasonable, it's predictable, it's not free. If you're wondering whether an OÜ fits your situation, here's what I'd suggest. Start with the question that matters. Where are you tax resident, and where will you be in 3 years? The right corporate structure sits on top of a personal residency answer, not the other way round. Map out what you plan to do with profits. Reinvest, distribute, hold. That shapes whether the deferral is worth reaching for. Think about your team and customers. Where are they? Where's the substance of the business? That drives whether the OÜ stands alone or needs a companion structure. And get a conversation, not a brochure. This stuff is specific. The mistake we see most often is founders who picked a jurisdiction from a YouTube video and ended up with a structure that fights their real life. That's Estonia. Next week, Jersey limited companies and Jersey trusts. Why the island has quietly become the go-to jurisdiction for family wealth and holding structures, even with tighter substance rules in play. If this was useful, send it to one founder thinking about where to set up next. Word of mouth is how this show grows. Show notes, our Estonia guide, and a free introductory call at grantgraham.co.uk, or search Grant and Graham on LinkedIn. I'm Alex Thomson. This was The Global Founder from Grant and Graham. Thanks for listening.